All right, here we are. We are sitting on Track Shot Chat with one of the legends, one of the onlys, kid number 17, Mr. Ryan Schutte from SRT, the OG Derby family, man. Thanks so much, Ryan, for jumping on and having some fun with us tonight, brother.
Thanks, Dixie. Appreciate everything you do, man. So awesome to hear from you today. So
Yeah, I tell you, so, it's one of these things. We're sitting here, we're talking to old veterans of the sport, the new kids coming up in the sport, and we're having fun on both sides of the spectrum. And as we sit here and we look at this, the Schutte family comes from a long time list of demolition derby drivers. And, probably, I mean, if you guys don't know SRT Racing, that is the Schutte family, 17 strong. What does the 17 stand for, Ryan?
I am my father's 17th child. My mom and dad had 17 of us kids. So, and as my wife would tell you, they finally got it right.
Well, some people joke around and they say Ryan Schutte's the best Schutte out there, but I guess, it's just kind of one of those things, and maybe your wife's right.
We probably all know better though. So
Okay, so the question is, I was sitting here thinking about this before I jumped on with you. How many of your brothers derbied? Was it six of you guys?
uh, I mean, four of us were, kind of the mainstays, Russ, Tori, Pat, and myself. But Paul started Russ out way back in the 70s. Dan, I think, did one of the original shows, and he derbied a couple of times. We called him One Day Dan because he'd put all of one day into his builds, and then and just let him run. But George ran, Frank ran, Joel ran once, Jody ran. I mean, we got my sister Denise into it. She did a heat. I took her out though. Yeah, I mean, bunch of the nephews. Obviously, you remember, Vicky, but Danny and Gus both ran with us. Shoot, too many of us.
Yeah, pretty hard.
And ones that I don't even know probably ran. Some of us are just smart enough to just do it once and then leave it alone.
Yeah, and then the other ones just keep it going and keep it going. So now, as I said, Monroe, Wisconsin, that is your guys' hometown. That's where you still live. Your parents, all the kids were born and raised right there. If you guys don't know where Monroe, Wisconsin is, it's right on the southern tip of Wisconsin. It's right alongside the border with Illinois, basically, and it is one hell of a derby mecca down there. There are a lot of great shows in your guys' hometown area.
Yeah, I mean, our area was a lot of fun. I mean, Rockford, Pecatonica is 45 minutes away. We're 45 minutes from Madison. Dubuque's an hour away, so we get, all that Western Wisconsin. Yeah, we're in a heck of a little hub. I mean, we got some great shows, great competition. It took me a lot of years to get my first win. I know that because there was a lot of great derbiers in our area,
So now, you sit there and you think about social media and demolition derby and everything like that. I mean, the SRT family, I mean, I got to say, I think you guys were one of the leaders in the first ones in the social media giving demolition derby out there and kind of showing on the computer, and expanding it to the greater masses.
Yeah, and I had no part of that. that was definitely on the brothers. I mean, I'm like Fred Trapp. I'm not. I'm in his train of thought. We don't mess with the technology. We like kicking it old school. So you won't see an MSD box ever show up in my car.
Well, you know what? You did really good following the shadows and having fun with the family and doing awesome stuff like that. Ryan, so when did you actually start derbying?
My first year was right here in town at the Greene County Fair, 1994.
So it's funny that you
Yeah.
say 1994. I mean, I was just getting ready to start. I was a 95er when I started. So you sit there and
Okay.
think back to all this stuff. So when you started Derbyan, I mean, it was kick the glass out of that round back wagon and go out there and have fun. Tell me, what are your
Uh,
thoughts with the progression of Demolition Derby?
Love it and hate it. I mean, both ways. But let's be honest, Tixie, my first car was a roundback wagon, but it was a 79 Buick Century roundback wagon. 2.8 liters of asphalt melting V6 power, man. Yeah, not exactly the car you would dream be your dream car.
Yeah, but
Sorry,
you know what? You
the
went
wife.
out there, you had fun, and you did your thing.
Of course, the wife just pulled into the garage here. I'll let her get the door down so I can hear you a second. But no, yeah, no, I wasn't. It definitely wasn't a powerhouse, but it was a little engine that could, and it stayed running. And I beat one of today's. One of our local stars, Jake Trickle. I know him. He's on does pretty well. He's a 2 years in a row charity champ up there with the Fifers. But in 1994, of course, he wasn't born yet, and I was competing against his dad. Yeah. Hi, honey.
Man, that just ages us sometimes. When you sit there and you think about it, these young kids that are coming up in the derby world, how we derbied against their dads, and how things have just changed. So as the times have gone on, you got into all the cradles and all the protectors and all the pressuring cars in and everything like that. What's your thoughts on that type of build?
I really, I'm a carpenter, so I absolutely love the making stuff strong. I love the building aspect of it, but as you get older, it made it hard too, because you can't flip that switch, and when you decide you're gonna junk yourself and take somebody with you, that necessarily doesn't happen. um, so that aspect of it is hard. I like bending cars. I like the carnage, of a softer build now. I because we did the DPs and distributor and protectors and tranny braces and all that. We did that for a few years, and it got to be such a chore. And you couldn't just go out and take somebody out. I mean, one back in the early days, I mean, one good tire shot and the guy was done, and that doesn't happen anymore. I mean, you got to work somebody, for a long time, and you got to drive them. And I thought of your interview with Fred Trapp, and I thought back to the first time I ever met Fred Trapp, and I hit that dude for an hour and 40 minutes at Charity. I hit Fred for an hour, and I took fifth or sixth place that day. He was the champ. He was the previous year's champ, and I knew, well, I didn't know him. I didn't know any of you Minnesota guys, and you guys were coming down to Wisconsin, and I'm like, well, who's this Fred Trapp? I don't know. He won last year, and I'm like, well, he must be good. I better hit him. It took me an hour and 40 minutes, and that was everything I had.
It's so fun when you sit there and you talk about the old history like that, and how these veteran drivers are sitting back and looking at it. And today's derbies, we've still got the room for the black cars that are all pressured in, that are 5-foot cars, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call them. There's still the place for them. And what's your thoughts on seeing these stocker derbies come back into play here now? Let's say 20 years later, all of a sudden we're almost like a flashback.
It is, and I love it. I mean, I love it that there's room for both of us, because as like you say, the young guys, they got the ambition to do everything, and me as an old guy, I don't have that ambition anymore. But I'll drive with you. I'll have fun. I'll rub paint for an hour with you. But that's the thing. I mean, that talking about that, charity derby, that it was unheard of to have a 2 hour feature back then. I mean, it was like, you ran for 2 hours, what did you do? I'm like, nothing. But
Yeah.
now it's nothing to have them to go that. I mean, you see that every show. You get the pro mods, and I mean, they can just go and go and go and go, and it's incredible. I mean, I love to watch it. I just can't do it. I mean, I can't build that. Not that I can't, I just won't, I guess. I mean,
Yeah. So, you sit there and we talk about like, hour, 2 hour, even 3 hour, almost 3 hour long features. As you sit there as a competitor, as a spectator, as, somebody who spends their hard earned money to go watch a show and everything like that, do you think that these softer build cars, the less invested cars, that these people are putting on a better show for the general population out there, whether they be watching Track Shot live or in person watching it, paying your hard-earned money to go sit in the grandstands and watch it?
yeah, I mean, I guess from my aspect, I do. I think the lesser builds, just because of the fact that they bend, and when your front bumpers up to your chest and your frames rubbing on the ground, what took that car out. I mean, you ran out of car. And some of the other builds are like, it doesn't look a lot different from when you drove in. And it's like, well, yeah, I blew up my tranny, or my torque converter went, or this went, or, I mean, I had a catastrophic failure, but it doesn't show. But when your rear tires are off the ground because somebody packed you in so hard to the wall that, your rear tires aren't even touching the ground, it's like, I know it took him out, I mean. And so from a spectator sport, I think they like the increased carnage that comes with a stocker build, but as a builder and a guy that loves the chess match, from a driver's ex-driver or whatever spectator sport, I mean, I love the chess match of it. I love the politic. Me, I'll go and talk to Derby to anybody in the pits, and if I always, my introduction. I'm Ryan Chudy. If you don't hit me, I won't hit anybody. So I love that part of it, where we, where we can drive around and trade paint and smile at each other and nod at the officials, like, yeah, I'm gonna hit, yeah, in an hour, give me an hour. I love that, but to some fans, that gets boring, and I mean. And unfortunately, I do see that the harder you build them, the softer you drive them. As weird as that sounds,
That's yeah.
but
That
it
sucks
to be
say
true.
that, but that is reality. Yep, that
It
is
is real,
reality.
and I mean,
And I'm going
and
to
it's
tell you
because
what.
you have so much time and energy and money invested in that. It's like you gotta, you almost feel like you gotta get down to the end, and and so it changes you're punching the clock. You're punching in, and we're going to work here today, and so you got to drive softer, where as well as I do. When in the old days, you kind of, it's like, oh, I'm down a tire. I better really step it up, and I better take somebody out because maybe my brother's going to bring it home for us,
Well,
and that was the.
talking good old history. I remember one time you were out there, you did your politics better than anybody else on the track. You had the cleanest car on the track. My politics took me to about 10th place, and your politics were right down to the end. And it didn't matter how good you drove and how bad you earned it. You weren't going to be able to win that show, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know which one you're talking about, because there's a couple of them there that was that way. But yeah, There's also the the little voice inside your head that says, I can't let you win today, or might not have been in my window. Might have been just might have been in my helmet hole. I don't know. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you
yeah,
ever said that to yourself, but you had to listen.
yeah, no.
So,
But
talking about some
I've
good old
been parked by
demolition derby. Well,
but I also been parked by one of the best. So God, I don't know what year that was. Oh, five. I don't know. Must have been oh 05. I really had a good chance at winning Metal Mayhem. And a lot of people know this kid named Bobby Whitaker. And that was the first year he ever won. And his dad did me the honor of parking me to get his kid a victory. And I mean, I'm honored that I happened to be his victim, but boy, I was sure sore about that for a few years.
yeah, no doubt about it.
Not
So,
that I'm a
like
grudge
talking
carrier, but
about, yeah, you just didn't forget.
exactly.
So, talking about some old classic derbies and stuff like that in your guys' neck of the woods, what are your thoughts on all of a sudden Pectonica? I mean, that was the home of the most intense metal mayhems. I mean, the competition, the car counts, the after demolition derby family gatherings. What's your thoughts on Pectonica coming back and bringing in a good size show again?
It was, I went and I watched the feature last year. I didn't make the heats. I came down for the second day, and wasn't, well, as long as that Tex guy doesn't come back and start fires, it'll be okay there. We're looking for Tex. Anybody find that Tex guy? But as long as that guy doesn't make it back, we'll be okay. Uh, but
I'm blushing.
what a venue. I know nothing. What's that? Text? One syllable off? I don't know.
Yeah,
One
let's keep it
one
that way.
vowel. Let me guess. One vowel off, I guess.
They bought the wrong one. Vanna flipped the wrong one.
Man, pick me a ladder. But no, what a great venue. What a great, you know as well as I do, that track is awesome. There's just something about our little Midwest, Northern Illinois, Southern Wisconsin clay that packs in, gives you a great track. You know, it's a good time. I hope he can put it back together and get as good a party as we used to have, because damn, we used to party and have some fun, man. No sleep, but a lot of fun, a lot of hard work down there. But
Yeah, no doubt
yeah,
about it. It's really awesome that somebody's stepping up to do something with it, and
yeah,
that's UD. Sam Williams and UD with the family. They came in. They tested the waters last year, and this year it's going to be wild and crazy. I mean, the Derby's always good there, like you said. You got the huge covered grandstands, you've got the huge infield, and you got the campground that is unlike any other out there. You got the Pectonica River right in the background. I mean, I remember golf carts going in there. I remember, it's just everything. Just the history of that place is out of this world. And I mean, and that truly is, where I can say that I've been privileged. I mean, we really opened the doors up right there, and became super good friends right there. And in the history, in the memories that were made there is out of this world.
it's funny you say the memories and golf carts and what. One of my biggest memories was going up to see Scott Gropp the next morning, trying to get ready for the feature, and I needed a carb or I needed something, and here was a gator framed out, junked in front of his chair. The Gators even got junked. I mean, I don't know whose it was, but somebody had a rough night. He didn't plate
Oh,
it up enough. I guess he didn't put his patch plates in the right spot. So
uh, one of the best mayhem stories there was I needed a carburetor from Gropp. I made it out of my heat wagon looking awesome, and I got up on Maury's rollback, and Billy Joe looked at me and she goes, "Are you proud with how you drove?" And I like the whole Maori rollback just went silent, listening to this woman beat me down and criticize me for driving bad. And I'm like, I got a beautiful wagon going to the feature. I said, what more can I do? And I'll never forget Tom Mowry's face. He looked right at her and says, no, go ahead. Keep telling him how bad he is. I'm enjoying this.
Well, that must be a Minnesota women thing because oh man, what boy Chad
Chad
Boyd,
Boy. Yep.
his
Yep.
wife chewing him out. That it must be a Minnesota woman thing, telling guys that they got to drive harder because Chad's wife looked at him and told him, "You ain't ever driving like that again." And then he took some beautiful cars and just nosed him. I mean, stood him up like the quick, and it was like, wow, Mama says you drive. I guess you listen to Mama there. I guess So,
Yeah,
and
well,
I
we're from
guess
Minnesota. We're afraid of the women up here.
yeah, I know. I mean, hey, I'd probably listen to what she had to say too. So I listen to mine, but that's why I don't let her go to derbies anymore, though. Or maybe that's her
Oh,
choice. I
God.
don't know.
Yeah.
That's
You
probably
know,
her choice.
um, Yeah. One thing that I got to say is, Ryan, you were up at one of our shows up here. You've always been a person that's given back to the Derby. I mean, you walked away, you couldn't stay to watch the features and all that stuff up in Minnesota. And, you handed me a handful of $100 bills and you said, hey, I want to be part of that $100 handshake. And, giving back to the Derby community and stuff like that. I mean, that's truly kind of been what the Schutte family has been about for many, many years. I mean, from, your brother Tori doing, stepping in and taking over with DI with, Scott
Yeah.
Gropp and Dave Guard. And then Tori kept it going. And then, just doing all kinds of other different things. But I mean, the Schutte family has always had a great response to Demolition Derby.
Hey, I even brought a few of those Minnesota handshakes to Monroe, Wisconsin the last couple of years. I said, you know what? There's guys out there that don't win, but they earn that handshake, and I tried to pass that on because I thought, um, and I mean that even goes back to our early shows down here in Monroe, and you know how the old ones went. I mean, a heat was $100 and a feature was 500. Well, our gal that came all the way up from Ohio or Kentucky, um, when she saw somebody put on a show, and they might have got down to third place. Well, she didn't just hand out the two first places. She handed out an extra trophy and an extra $100 to make sure that guy came to the feature and continued to put on a show. And I honor that. And her name was Ivana, and that was a Cavalcade of Thrills. They were, long standing. I mean, I think that Chester Rotroff, which was her boss or whatever, I think was one of the first guys to ever put on a demolition derby. I mean, I think they are. I think he was one of the pioneers of our sport. Chester was. From what and if you're not a Ohio, Kentucky guy, you don't know that name, but Cavalcade of Thrills was pretty cool. She was quite a unique woman. She would run the derbies and everything else, but the night before, that gal could take a Mustang 5.0 and drive it on two wheels all the way around a dirt track, half-mile track all the way around, and set it back in the straightaway to put on a little thrill show. And it was pretty cool. I mean, that was long before I derbied, but I can remember having the big eyes going, wow, that's a girl doing that, I mean, and that's what I love about Demolition Derby and motorsports, is that it's the ultimate equalizer. Even girls can drive. Danica Patrick, I don't think I'd want to try to outdrive her. And if you watch my niece Vicky hit, you probably ain't going to hit any harder by anybody than her. So that it's to the floorboard. It's the skinny pedal all the way. There ain't no brake being put on it when you get that. And I love that about Demolition Derby. It's an equalizer, and motorsports is cool that way.
Yeah, it is really cool. You sit there, you talk about your niece Vicky and stuff like that. Unfortunately, we lost both your mom and dad here just not that long ago, and
Yeah.
a lot of people knew George. George Schutte, the father of all you guys. He was Grandpa Schutte to me, and he was the one that gave the girls the biggest hugs and made sure all the women were taken care of and smiling and having a good time. And so the whole family truly was a huge part of Demolition Derby. And if you guys see, I'm wearing a Schutte reunion shirt on. they put on the family reunion was, I mean, bigger than a town festival. I don't think Monroe's town festival is as big as the Shooty reunion and the fireworks display that you guys would put on there. Granted, I know it's some of your relatives that put that show on, but it was absolutely
Yeah.
amazing what you guys did as a family, as a whole. And it is crazy to see the community that you guys are with the Shooty last name.
And it's a blast, and I love the fact that you and Skinny and many others, Micah, have all been out and all been welcomed into the family and know that you're part of the family, and you come down and you attend the reunions and give, well, you probably paid good money for that shirt. I'm sure Jody didn't give it to you for nothing. We know the used car salesman in the family. You're gonna pay top dollar for that good shirt.
Oh man.
But it is a blast, and
I
I mean
remember
that's
that.
and a lot of people know my dad because he was the beer man, and we were us growing up. My dad was part of the Knights of Columbus, and they sold the beer and the popcorn, and we sold the sodas and stuff, and that was why I loved tractor pulling and the demolition derby and watching the Oak Ridge Boys in Alabama and the the Mandrell sisters in our county fairs, is because growing up in a big family, we had to earn our way into that fairgrounds, and that was the way we did it. We sold the popcorn, we sold the pop, and that's how I grew to love the sport, was watching it, selling the beer and the popcorn in the stands, and that was our only way to get in there, was to earn our way in. Mom and dad George wasn't giving men, handfuls of, he wasn't giving $100 handshakes. Let me put it to you that way.
You know what he did give was a bag of ginger snaps and a loaf of bread. And I'll tell you what, there's nothing better than that driving home from your guys' house back to Minnesota. Them ginger cookies never made it past the state line. I'll promise you that, sir.
No, they didn't stand a chance, man. No, they are something else. They are something else. So, yeah, and we got a few of the nieces and nephews that are carrying on that tradition, making the bread, making the cookies and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, you remember him as Grandpa George. There's other of them that remember as Grandpa Cookie. So,
Yeah, no doubt about it. So,
it was fun.
I got
So.
a question. I got one for you. So, was it Border Battle that TSL was at, that you competed at, and you jumped on TSL with us up there on top of Scott Gropp's trailer?
Well, no, that was King of the Ring. Was that King of the Ring out in Nebraska?
Yeah, King of the Ring.
Yeah.
That's what it was. It
was King of the Ring. King of the Ring. Yeah.
Chad Mark.
I made it to the feature, but not much more than that.
Yeah, no, you got used up pretty hard in the heat. You had to drive. There was no easy movement there, but that was totally awesome. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking back to that I mean, that was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, wasn't it, Ryan?
6 years ago, 2018, dude.
Oh my God.
I know.
All right. Well,
God, it flies, don't it?
It does. I think we need to have a flashback reunion and get you on TSL one of these shows around here, and it would be a blast to get you up there. And Scott Gropp jumped up there with us, and we had a blast up there with some of the originals, and it was some great conversation and everything. And the beautiful thing is, folks, if you want to go back and look, it's on YouTube. You can see where the famous Ryan Shooty jumped up and made Skinny and I look good.
It was funny because, I mean, how this algorithms work, better than anything. And of course, if you look at my, my Google feed, it pretty much shows me the Green Bay Packers, demolition derby, or a scantily clad girl. I don't know why. I don't know why those things are fed to my phone just automatically, but, I'll one of those mysteries of the world. But yeah, it was funny because Inside Demolition Derby popped up the other day as I was scrolling YouTube, and that goes back to, I think, the original Metal Mayhem 2002, and it was cool. Yeah, so I think it's Inside Demolition Derby, but I think that came up, and that was the TV show that we did for, I don't know. that was the first one before we did before we battled Mopar Express, before any of them, but they came and followed us in Metal Mayhem, and that was fun. That was a flashback. Of course, I had to watch it, because I was a lot younger and not so much gray and a little skinnier, maybe.
Well, like I said, this shirt fit me a lot better, 4 years ago or whatever it was. It's getting a little bit of healthy in my older age. But
Yeah.
talking about some of that great stuff like that, it's just crazy, the flashbacks on it, and you can kind of see that. And that was the stuff back then in the day. That was the only way people got to see any of the behind the scenes stuff or anything like that. So being able to allow you guys to introduce yourselves to the Demolition Derby world and let them see the gun safe in the back and see the trophies in the back and stuff like that.
Oh, are they up there?
It's really neat.
I pan them better here. Let me check here. I'll do a walkthrough here. I'll show you you got to have the made for TV ones back in here. I don't know. I can't hardly see it because my old eyes are getting old, but those are the made for TV trophies back there. All the Charlie Preen plaques up above, and then if you pan that way, that starts about 1994, and then it goes back through to. Sorry, but had to do it quick. That goes through to just last year, I guess. I guess last year I didn't. 2022, I didn't run 2023 because of what you said with my mom, dad, and then of course I lost my father-in-law too. It was a tough 2023, but we're looking forward to a little better 2024, and I'll get back to Monroe and probably run a heat there at least. And I wanted to make it to your show, but that just didn't happen. The ambition level just dropped off, but.
So what I came up, and at least I hear you went and picked yourself up a 74 somewhere.
Well, there again, the Barn Finds algorithm happened to find me, and I'll send you some pics. But it's a true barn find. That Barn Find auction site pops up 74 Impala, and of course I clicked on it, and of course the bid wasn't hardly anything, so. I got caught up, but it had been parked since 1988, owned by a little old lady, Betty Williams. Her and her husband died, and the guy had the niece and nephew had to sell some cars, and I'll send you a picture. It was buried in a little one-car garage in Lexington, Kentucky, and Pat lives in Louisville, an hour away, and he moved up to Louisville from Florida in the early 90s. And then when I got him back into Demolition Derby in 1995, he's like, oh, there's all kinds of these cars. Well, from 95 until, I don't know, probably 2010, we picked a lot of cars out of the Louisville area. And so I knew it was going to be a good, clean car, just from history. And I bought a 44,000 mile 74, been parked since 88. The kid that helped me load it, he'd been in the family for 20 or 25 years, and he said he didn't even know there was a car in the garage. It's so buried I'll send you the picture. It's so buried with fans and coolers and ladders and stuff. You couldn't even see anything until he unburied it, and you open the doors and it's clean. I got it running enough to take it down. It runs. It needs a carb and probably a distributor, and I'll have to get rid of them fiber gears off the timing chain, and then a lot of elbow grease to get some of the skankiness off of that vinyl in there. But the interior is nice, and that's what the wagon I bought wasn't. I got a 72 clam, but it's kind of gross, so Mama won't ride in it. So. Well, back to that niece Vicky talked me out of my Buick. You know how nice that one was, and that was a cool cruiser. But Derek and Vicky talked me out of that one. I kind of regretted selling it, so I'm back into a cruiser again. So we'll have to make a drive. Maybe I'll make it up to one of them clamshell revivals or whatever, like you went to a few years back. But they do that every year, don't they?
Yeah, it just changes around. This year's going to be down in Kentucky, I believe, actually.
Oh man. So I'll have to take her back to Kentucky in order to, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. So, but yeah,
Well,
80, it's been parked since 1988. And dude, you know, them old Chevys, they just fire up. I got the sandpaper in there and I filed the points, you know, to get her some spark and, you know, poured enough gas down the throat to choke everybody out in the garage and kill the mice. And, but she fired, man. She's back to life. So
well,
after
maybe the
all that
Kidd
time, I was
family will jump in the wagon and we'll head south and we'll road cruise with you. We'll go hit the clam. We'll go get the festival in the roundbacks.
no doubt, man. That'd be cool. So, yeah,
Heck
you'll
yeah.
have to hook me, make sure I know about that because a lot of beautiful cars when you guys added up. Was that 2 years ago that you had it in Minnesota that we?
Yeah. Yeah, it was 2 years ago, and then Rooster came up with his, so we partied with the Rooster family, and then Bolio, and it was really fun to have some people travel up and have a good time. So I mean, it's a great thing. So you guys take a look out there if you're hearing us talk about it on here. Take a look. It's a Clam Fest. Figure out it's a GM wagon gathering, and I believe it's in Kentucky. There, no. Hang on a second. It was in Kentucky this year. Swanson's got it coming up, I believe.
And
That's
where's
in
he
your back.
then?
That's in your backyard. Shoot, I think he's just south of you a little ways in Illinois.
Oh, cool, cool. Well,
Yeah.
I picked it up from I don't know. I subscribe to that Mr. Good Pliers. Is that Tim? I don't know if you subscribe to him on YouTube, but he's a guy out of Kansas, and he I don't kind of but he was up there filming and he was doing the walk around. That's how and I'm like, oh, there's Chixie and his wagon, and I thought it was pretty cool. And it's just YouTube's an awesome thing. I'll give it that, you know. So, but yeah, Mr. Good Pliers on the internet. He's fun to watch. He's all over Kansas and stuff picking, but I know he's competing against some of us Derby guys.
Yeah, that's what they do sometimes. You know, that's awesome. Well, I tell you what, Ryan, I could sit here and talk all night with you, man. Old history, old stories, fun, the new stuff. I tell you what, I am not going to give up. I want you back on TSL to have fun with us at a show. I think that the Derby world needs to see you again and have some fun with TSL. I know it was last minute because everything that was going on. I appreciate you jumping on the Track Shot Chat with us. These things are huge. I love it. I love for everybody to see all across the country. You know, we got some young kids that are coming up that we're going to be chatting with also. But, you know, to talk to some of the
Awesome.
legendary guys, the OG guys and everything like that, we can't thank you enough. And, you know, what the Schutte family's done for Demolition Derby. And you know, you carry that name proud, brother.
Hey, and I shout out to you and Bill for what you guys do. Free 99 is awesome. It's just right in my price range, and you know, and yeah, and I absolutely love it that you guys bring us these derbies from all over, and those guys in the Dakotas and all over in Nevada and California that are running those old, you know, Mercuries. I know Russ loves that. I can't thank you enough for bringing, you know, Derby to Track Shot and on the internet for free, because that's, you know, it's killer, dude. So much love to you and Bugsy and the wife, and we'll talk soon.
All right, you all take care, man. Thank you so much for everything, Ryan. It was great talking with you.
One time, peace, and you know you're half.
Yeah, there it is. I get it. I get it. Right there, you guys. You got it from Track Shot Chat. Ryan Schutte, the kid 17. We are just having great times, fun, and it is the life of Demolition Derby.
Take care, man.
Sweet, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too. Take care, man.